Hello to all of you from around the world. I want to welcome you again to another beautiful edition of Soulivity Today, broadcasting live from our studio right here in the nation's capital, Washington, D.C., and on KMET 1490 AM radio in Southern California. My name is Brian Wesley Johnson, and we have such a phenomenal show for you today. But before I get into today's show, I want to introduce to you one of my favorites, and my favorite's amazing co-host, D'Angelo Thompson and Sheila Applegate. Good morning to both of you.
Good
Hi,
morning.
Brian.
Hey. Such a great show today. I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to announce what this is all about in just a second. But before I get into that, Sheila, it's been a minute. So what's been going on with you?
I've been having a lot of fun.
Oh, okay.
Good.
Summer is like people and nature, and I went to a baby shower over the weekend for a couple that I officiated the marriage of a year ago. So that was really fun to kind of watch that process move and get excited about the baby.
Okay,
And lots
cool.
of hiking and flowers. Yeah.
What about you, Dee? What have you been up to since we last talked?
Well, tomorrow actually, school starts for Kent State University Fashion. So I'll be in class tomorrow morning, have 2 classes this semester. So I'm excited to meet my new students. So that's it.
Well, oh well, that's fantastic. That's fantastic. As I said before, guys, we have a fantastic show today. We'll be talking about a subject that is complex. It's near and dear to my heart, but there's a whole lot of stuff about it too that has brought controversy. But let's get into today's show. You guys remember the movie? It's a wonderful movie called Brown Sugar, starred Taye Diggs and Sanaa Lathan. It was made in 2002. And this movie kind of personified the magic of the early days of hip hop, springing up across the streets of urban America. The battles between West Coast and East Coast and all that kind of stuff was going on. And the question throughout the movie that was just so perfect was, when did you fall in love with hip hop? I mean, I think it says it all. I mean, do you guys remember when you fell in love with hip hop? Don't answer that yet. I'm going to answer. I want you to answer it a little bit later. But with all things in Black culture, music is completely intertwined in everything that we do. For instance, the fashion of the day also defined the beginning of a new era for our world. So while we continue to celebrate 50 years of the music that brings us joy, let's also remember that the fashion that changed the world as well. And so we're going to be talking about today the fashion that hip hop built. And I think we've got the very perfect person to talk about this with. Kelly GLUSOVICH is an entrepreneur. He's a streetwear designer. He's a barber. I would say he's a man about town who deeply understands how hip hop changed the way we look at fashion forever. And listen, brother, I'm so glad that you're here with us, because I think you're the perfect person because all these dynamics. So Kelly, man, thank you for being here on Soulivity today.
Good morning, Brian. Thank you for having me. Good morning, Sheila. Good morning, D'Angelo.
Good morning.
So of course,
all right.
The perfect question to ask you is, so Kelly, when did you fall in love with hip hop?
That's a great question. I fell in hip hop, love at first sight, probably sometime 80, 81. And I had heard Grandmaster Flash's The Message come over the radio. Yeah. This is in California at the time.
Yeah.
And I said to myself, I don't know what that is, but I want in. And it just spoke to me. And it sounds cliche and corny, I know.
Of course.
But, me and hip hop, we've been rocking since.
Yeah, I heard that. now you were in LA at this time. I mean, like who were some of the major players that you knew about? Okay, Grandmaster Flash. Who else was out there that you were kind of like just immersing yourself in?
Well, I didn't start immersing myself, or rather, didn't have the benefit to immerse myself until I moved to New York.
Oh,
My family
right,
situation was there was a lot of back and forth. So I'd like to say I had the benefit through that upheaval to enter New York, and I want to say '82. So I was still, I want to say, in the first, cutting edge, not even a decade old of a what would come to be a formidable art form. Had no idea.
Yeah.
Had no idea. It just seemed fun, and it spoke to me rhythmically. And I'm sure at some point we'll get into, when you see a hip hopper on the street, you know who that person is.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. D'Angelo, I'll go to you, man.
We were talking earlier. I think for me, I grew up in a very strict household, Kelly and everyone. So it wasn't allowed in our house. So I would hear it on the streets. I would hear it when MTV started sharing it, on the airwaves. I would hear it, and it was called rap then, not really hip hop. And then when I went to Pratt, Kelly, actually my roommate, I don't know if you remember this guy, Brian X. Jones, would play hip hop, rap 24/7 in our dorm room. And I think he would do it just to annoy me a little bit. But I really started to listen. I really started to listen to the lyrics. And I thought, wow, okay, the lyrics are amazing. I understood it because I grew up in inner city. So I understood exactly what they were talking about. But I wouldn't say I was a huge fan then. And then Big Daddy Kane and some others started popping up. And I was like, okay, I like this sound,
Yeah.
And I would say it happened then.
Wow. Sheila, now, did you listen to hip hop growing up?
Well, in the 80s, I was in a punk phase.
Whoa. Okay.
But
I'm
but
learning
I've
so
always
we're learning
loved.
so much about
I
you,
know,
Sheila,
right?
now.
That was a shocker for you guys. I've always loved lyrics, right? So it was easy to move into rap and listening to the stories and the lyrics of rap. But if I want to say in love with it, where like I can listen and then feel it in my heart, that would be later in the 90s into the 2000s. And it really has a lot to do with the community
Wow.
that I was with at that time. So the memories, the connection of the community.
Wow, that's cool. That's really cool. Now, Kelly, when did you kind of start like, okay, the music got you, but did the whole culture grab you as well at that time when you first start listening? Because for me, it was instantaneous. I mean, I was going out buying all kinds of stuff.
Yes, it grabbed me immediately, and yes, instantaneous. And I wanted to absorb and learn as much as I possibly could. Again, I didn't know it was something to be learned. It just seemed to be it was something that people were doing, and I had to be a part of it. It was a good time. It was a good time. I ended up really spending a lot of time up in Drew Hamilton houses up in Harlem. I went to Brandeis, so that was like a interesting culture shock coming from Los Angeles, reading Hot Rod magazine and wearing
Wow.
501 Levi's. That was not in New York yet. So I came to Brandeis and I was wearing Levi's and K-Swiss, and I was getting clowned because they were wearing Lee's and Adidas. So I was out of pocket, So, you start learning how you're going to, you learned everything from how you're going to dress to, what your walk is going to be about. I mean, the LA walk didn't work. I'll just tell you all that.
Another quick question before we kind of move on. I found this statement and I was like, I want to ask Kelly, and you, D'Angelo, too, because you're big in fashion as well. What do you think of this statement? It says hip hop fashion's earliest iteration trends weren't set by the artist reflected their community. Do you agree or disagree? And I'll go to you, Kelly, first.
I agree. Wholeheartedly. Moreover, the screen and the stage makes us sort of think that the rapper was the one with the style. Some rappers do have style.
Right.
I would venture to say all rappers have style. However, that style that ended up being seen on video later on and in pictures on album covers, a lot of that is to do with a stylist who understood how to bring this whole thing together and make it a package. So I believe in that time, a stylist was taking the likes of the artist, of the talent, and draping them with that. Yeah.
What about you, D?
Didn't come
What
from
do
the
you
rapper.
think?
Came from the stylist. Came from the streets.
Came from the streets, like Kelly said, came from the stylist, but your fashion was your passport, right? They knew if you were authentic or not by how you dressed. And I would say that had a lot to do in it, how your hair was cut and your bravado, your swag, if you will. And I would pay attention to all of that, even though I wasn't that, which is interesting, but I paid attention to it. Yeah.
Wow. I'm trying to think of.
There's a phrase, Bryant. There's a phrase called. I'm sorry to cut you off. The phrase
go
"act
for
like you know." That is perfectly applicable to what hip hop is, because you looked a certain way, you behaved a certain way, you may have leaned against the door frame in a certain way. All that is hip hop, top to bottom, all the details.
You know what's interesting that you just said that? Sayings like that and the attitude and the culture of hip hop, there were slight differences between communities, right? Like if I'm from Detroit, if I came to New York dressed like I am in Detroit, people would know, that I love hip hop, but they would also know that I'm not from there, right? But there was this almost community kind of sense that transcended that, where it was like you were still cool, right? I mean, you're still fam, I will put it that way. Do you agree with that or no?
I'd have to hear the question rephrased. I'm a little turned around with it.
So no matter where you would go, even back in the late 80s, early 90s, right? There was a sense that there were commonalities in terms of language, commonalities in terms of clothing, commonalities in terms of attitude that transcended like other things that may have been happening within certain neighborhoods across the United States. Do you agree with that or no?
I do agree. And being Gemini, I have the benefit to give you the whole other side of that too. I want to say there are absolutely commonalities, but early on, before we had the benefit of seeking influences from regions outside of us through social media, internet, and that sort of thing, we were regional with our styles. I have family in Detroit, and I would visit Detroit, and Detroit's hip hop didn't look the same. However, one region may be a little baggier than the other. One region may be a little tighter on the jeans. There may be a different style T-shirt that is, really cracking in that particular city. And things are different in different cities. Different cities have their influences, but you can still tell it's hip hop. It's very different, but you can tell they're hip hop. When you see this dude on the plane, you're like, that must be one of those hip hoppers. You damn right. That's us. Wherever you are. You can tell. It's the packaging of the streets, because the music is from the streets. My favorite hip hop, or my favorite rap records, to be specific, they aren't the ones that are sing-songy. I don't like people singing their rap to me. I'd rather, as I came into understanding, it had me in places I probably shouldn't be talking about, but this was the streets, this was youth, and
Yeah, gang
it
culture.
was to
Mhm.
be honest, it was a little dangerous,
Yeah. Yeah.
But speaking to the gang thing you speak of, D'Angelo, very
Mhm.
interestingly, hip hop gave us a way out of gangs. It gave us
Yes. Yes.
crews instead. So we stopped using knives and
Mm.
guns as much. We were battling on some b-boying, So
Right.
Mhm.
there was an outlet, so that we didn't have to be, knocking each other off. But instead, I'll see you at the club next week, MF.
Right. Lyrically. I'll destroy you lyrically and with my fashions. Right. Right. I remember those battles. I
Absolutely,
do
absolutely.
remember those battles around the country.
Yeah.
And people would,
I'm
make a lot of
coming
money.
with my new shoelaces wrapped up on my leg. That's right.
Right. Speaking of shoelaces, Brian and Teresa, I'm sorry, Sheila, sorry. Kelly was like the maestro of sneakers in college, right?
Oh, so now we
How
knowing
many
the
pairs
truth.
did you own,
Okay.
Kelly? Like 100 pair? How
Say it
many
again, D. I
pairs?
didn't hear you.
How many pairs of sneakers did
I
you
never
own?
counted.
Right. Well,
I
man.
never counted. I still don't. It just feels pretentious because somebody's going to ask you that. And if you actually have a number in your head, I think that's kind of clownish.
I mean, it was a wall. It was a wall of sneakers. Kelly cut most of our hair in college. And he was our barber.
Okay.
And you come, he had his shop in his room. You come in his room, and it was a wall of sneakers. I was like, wow. I was mesmerized by the sneakers, and of course the cut, but the sneakers.
Wow. Okay.
Mhm.
What was did
That's
all
that's that's your
kinds of
that's your
sneakers,
badge.
Kelly? All kinds of sneakers, or were they certain
Brian,
brands?
you're not gonna corner me in that one, Brian. But I will say, um, to this day, I'm still accused of this guy is always buying basketball sneakers instead of more lifestyle or track sneakers. I have very few of those, but I default to basketball styles because I used to play. And
Yeah. Yeah.
no particular brand, but Nike's having in the closet. I'm a product of my environments, of which I
Yeah.
have many. And I've been able to squeeze hip hop out of all those. So yeah, we had a bunch of selections, but there was a time, especially in college, I was coming from humble stuff. So I learned to cut my own hair, which is how I started. And in my world, I figured, with money as tight as it was, if I had some shoes and I had a haircut, everything in the middle didn't matter quite as much.
Wow.
And for my sneakers,
Sheila,
my hair, you knew I was hip hop.
Sheila, I'll go to you for a question.
Well, I guess I'm thinking about, like, as we talk about hip hop and the designers, that connection. Do you have a favorite hip hop designer?
I don't. Um, I, at the risk of sounding like people I give a side eye to who don't necessarily are a fan of a basketball team, but they follow these players as they hop from team to team because everything has changed. I'm just a fan. I'm just a fan of basketball. All right. So
Right.
I can't say I'm heavy on any particular hip hop designer. And Sheila, this is why. I don't believe
Right.
the best designers are hip hop designers. They just have hip hop as part of their ingredients. For myself, I'm not a hip hop designer. I'm just a designer who lives in a hip hop world. It's not my only world, but it's been the my secondary culture after who I am as a half black and half white man, figuring some stuff out in these streets, in these
Right.
social
Right.
circles,
Speaking of that, why don't we take a cut at one of the most influential designers, and I'm not, and again, I agree with you, Kelly. We don't call these people kind of hip hop designers because they were just out there doing it, right? This first guy, I think we all kind of know who this guy is, Mr. Dapper Dan.
Oh yeah.
I mean, Dapper Dan was known. we was known everywhere. I'll put it that way. And I think about him as one of those guys that um, um, without, I don't think certain things would have come to be. What was your experience with like Dapper Dan and his fashion, Kelly?
I was a witness at a distance, seeing this.
Yeah.
You see it show up on people.
Yeah.
Your favorite. Let me rephrase that. Your the known money makers in your area. As I said, I was hanging in Harlem at the time. These are the days of Alpo sliding by on a Jeep, but you could hear him before you saw him. Like you heard that bass. And like when you're talking to a shorty in the front of the building, you know, you in a conversation, and as soon as you heard the bass, like her neck broke the other direction, and you were paid no attention, you know, because they were listening to that system. That was like, but you know, can we continue the conversation, shorty? You know, like, that's Alpo, that's Poe. So these are the people who could afford to put that stuff on. Like Dap wasn't dressing people on the cheap, you know. Like he I think, you know, he found a niche, and you know, whether we like what he did or not, whether we want to talk copyright infringement or not, he came with an unapologetic flavor. And you know, let's talk about putting logos on stuff. You know, it's as wonderful a concept as it is cheap, but depending on how you freak it, it can be a, you know, we've not seen it go anyplace since we saw it come in. You know, there's logos on everything. Forever.
Absolutely.
You know, the more logos you see, it's probably the lower level of that particular brand. And things get more subtle as you get further up toward the couture ladder, but we're still seeing logos. It's brand identity. And we want to identify with something superlative in these streets because it makes it feel like, no, I'm living good out here, you know, even though I may be living in the projects and I got a heavy chain on, you know, that's a whole paradox, but this is hip hop.
Exactly. Listen, guys, we're going to take a quick break. But when we come back, we're going to talk even more about the 50 years of hip hop that and fashion that were built from these incredible artists and designers with Kelly GLUSOVICH in just a second. We'll be right back. Soulivity Today is brought to you by Happy Travelers Tours and Old Vine Wine Tours. The Satana products at our Go shop at go.soulivity.com.
Have you ever asked the question, if I was to be anything, what would I be? Regardless of money, regardless of status, beyond popularity and fame, living your passion, feeling your life has purpose. Soulivity is a space to nurture that which lives in all of us, a place where work can become play, and doing what we love creates the dreams of a lifetime.
Hey, we're back with more of Soulivity Today. We are talking about the 50 years of fashion that hip hop built with our main man here, Kelly GLUSOVICH. Kelly, we were just talking about Dapper Dan and the things that he contributed, good, bad, and different. I mean, nobody's life is a straight line, right? One of the cat that we got to bring into the mix is Big Daddy Kane. Such an influence on both the music, but the fashion as well. I mean, the haircut, the style, just his whole flavor was just kind of like, amazing. I mean, he had an effect on me. I'll put it that way. What about you? Did he have an effect on you as well?
Absolutely. We played Kane in the locker room before these basketball games. That was the get hype music,
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a particular photo I have hanging over my station in one of my locations, and it's excuse me, it's Scoob uppercutting Big Daddy Kane, and that's it's an iconic image for me because it's what we looked like in college, cutting hair. We weren't certainly putting capes on and smocks, and like we was cutting. First of all, I was getting paid in 40 ounces, and we were cutting on the balcony. Like it was loosey goosey, but we were doing some fly cuts. That's all that counted. We were having a good time doing it, and I started learning, barbershop atmosphere and etiquette. On the fringe, of which I'm honored to be a part of.
Yeah.
I mean, even barbering in a way is hip hop. There's some debate on the elements of hip hop. We know that the turntablists, the b-boying, the graph as art, and the MCing. We know about those four pillars, as people call them. I would like to add that hair was the fifth element. It's no small thing. Even if your clothing was looking regular, I could tell a hip hopper when he stepped on the bus, when he stepped on the train. Like your hair is making a statement. There's people that wear suits, but you can tell that's a hip hopper right there. You can tell, because there's something edgy about it. So even when someone adopts that edgy look, they might be mistaken for hip hop, so they should be careful. Like if you want to be looking like a hip hopper, don't wear that edgy cut. My dad hated that I wore these haircuts. He was like, these radical haircuts, you'll never get a job. He had no idea that hip hop is a job. You can find a job in that culture if you're passionate about it.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. D'Angelo, you had a question?
Yeah, I think about brands, Kelly, like Baby Fat, right? Fat Farm, was it Carl Kanai? All those brands that were born out of hip hop and that became multi-million-dollar brands and now billion-dollar brands. So fashion definitely was an element, like you said, a pillar. Also hair, and I would say even accessories, right? Your bling, which is part of fashion, but your earrings, your necklaces. Did you have a lot of bling?
No,
I remember
I
diamond
was
studs
never
in your ear.
That's standard, like entry level kit. You gotta have a little pinky ring, little study studs. You know what I mean? They're super flawed. We got these at Albee Square. All right, I'm doing the best I can, but I was never heavy with the big chains and stuff because that comes with more stuff. Like if you're not pulling up or knocked in your head.
Right.
I didn't need to take it that far. Plus, I didn't have the money for that. Like I was a college student. I'm eating like frozen broccoli and stale grits. It's going down.
Sheila, did you have a question?
Yeah, I just want to go back to the barbershop because I was watching your Instagram and I love the clips that you have up there. That connection with the barbershop and how you moved into blending these together. Can you talk more about that?
I swear, this is a story I would love to be able to meld and make simple for a short paragraph or an elevator pitch. But I've been having a problem with that for years. I would speak to D'Angelo about how to sort of put this thing into a story, because in essence, that's what we're selling. And that's why hip hop
Yeah.
sells, because it's own story, especially if you're from outside of it. You know, you can get into this thing by, I can get these jeans and get this haircut. I'm going to be looking and feeling hip hop too. So, you know, you're all welcome. Come on in, you know. But the barbering thing came from me being a people person and going through some stressful times when I was young, and barbering allowed me an escape. I was able to get into somebody else's happiness and immerse myself there and escape my woes or whatever I was going through, because I'm invested in this person in the chair right now. So that became my thing for years until I found a way to just be, you know, standalone happy. But it took years to get there. But it's a wonderful place to be, to where you can add some happiness to somebody's life, but they can also add happiness to yours. Like, the check-in with your clients is an amazing, beautiful thing, you know, if you treat it as such. These people are my friends. I've been invited to weddings and baby showers, and, you know, they become parts of your family and vice versa.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
One of my closest friends is my hairdresser, so I get that too. It's a bond.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know, as we're talking about this, can't help but to bring into the mix. We've talked a lot about some of the men that were part of this movement. Got to bring in. Oops, hang on one second, guys. Got to bring in here April Walker.
Oh,
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, just there. You know, again, hip hop is something that I think a lot of people that was quote unquote male dominated, but wouldn't have happened fully without the women that were there as well, right? I mean, hip hop today would not be where it is without the Queen Latifahs, the Salt and Peppers, and others. Yeah. I mean, and others that are there. Can you talk a little bit about that, Kelly, and maybe even how some of the female MCs influence you as well?
That's interesting. I'm listening to more female MCs now because they're coming with it. I have to say, like, again, don't sing to me. You know, someone else will buy that, but that's just not my particular lane. If I'm listening to some hip hop, like, you gotta give me some beats. But the females are coming with it, but they always have. You know, I think now they're capitalizing on, you know, the timing of things, and the time is ripe, so they can get in and get more than a foothold. So, you know, going back to April, I was introduced to April through a close friend, Michi Boyer, who just kind of walked me into some people that I had no access to when I was really just trying to, you know, peek in the window from outside. You know, how do I get in this thing and start learning? And come to find out, being introduced to April, I was her neighbor. Like, she lived in the same line as I did in the building. She was on the first floor, I was on the sixth. So after I get to meet her, I'm like, wow, you know, she was so super cool. Like, she was never, you know what, there's a phrase, she never fronted. She never treated me like a rich dude, you know? She was always very warm and willing to talk and throw you some tidbits. I mean, never unwilling to share. And that's also hip hop, you know? For us to sort of have each other as a resource is an amazing thing. Those who don't do the resource reciprocation, those folks are kind of jerky and welcome to, you know, there will always be those folks in life. But hip hop, by and large, it is a community, and we behave that way when we're not behaving otherwise.
Wow, so much to talk about, guys. Listen, we're a little bit over break.
Let's
take a quick. Yeah. Okay. Go for it.
I just wanted to say, you know, there's a bunch of people on my mind when we were talking about hip hop coming from, you know, maybe perceived as coming from the artist. No, it came from those stylists, and April Walker was one of those. I mean, there's the Groovy Lou's, the Michael Barnett, the June Ambroses, the Misa Hiltons, okay, the Dapper Dans, the Colin Carters, you know what I mean? The April Rumits. There's a long list, and I don't have the memory for it at this point in the morning, but these people shape how we look at things because they drape our icons in these styles. Okay, sorry.
Right. Yeah, very true, and still do.
You know, when we come back, I want to kind of pull that thread a little bit more, right? Dig a little bit deeper.
Okay.
Because I think to a certain degree, you know, the art, you know, the community and the designers that were there were draping these people with this fashion that also helped define what hip hop is. But today it feels as though there's been this kind of commercialization, and that hip hop artists are talking about brands that aren't part of the community, right? And it's been this turn over time. I mean, it started with Versace and then Gucci, of course. I mean, Gucci Man and all this kind of stuff. Want to pull that thread a little bit more and get you guys' take on that. So we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back with more of Soulivity today.
6 years ago, when I started Soulivity, my vision was to support everyone in improving their life through the discovery of their passion and purpose, so they could become the best version of themselves, to battle fear and ignorance, and create a better world today. Get inspired to live your passion and purpose. Visit Soulivity.com now.
And we're back with more of Soulivity today. We're talking about the 50 years of hip hop and the fashion it created with our very special guest, Kelly GLUSOVICH. Kelly, you know, we were just talking about, you know, how in the beginning of all of this, artists were reaching into the community to drape themselves with clothing that was already part of the community, but then it became part of hip hop, right? It just seems to me that there was this turn where now hip hop is making brands outside of the community a whole bunch of money.
Exactly.
You know, yes, it's still to a certain degree, yes, there is still certain brands that are owned by people within the community. But I mean, the mentions of everything from Versace to Gucci, we just talked about that, to other major brands that have been around for a long time. You know, Louis Vuitton is another one that comes to mind. What are your thoughts about that?
Kelly?
Are you still
I
there?
can jump in. I can jump
Yeah,
in.
I'm over here talking on the muted mic. I'm here. I'm sorry.
Okay.
just leaning back and talking to nobody. So hip hop has gone through regarding its fashion and just as a genre, a subculture, a business, has gone through a lot of evolution. I want to say that when Carl came in and Cross Colors came in, they had to answer that knock on the door, because it's a funny little dynamic, because to produce clothes that are called hip hop is a dangerous thing, because you can get yourself into a pigeonholed situation, and then you're cornered, and you're not really, it can be a trap. It's like calling, if you have to call your clothes underground, then they're not underground, because you just kind of named it. You gave it a label.
Right.
So that Carl comes in and brings us extra these larger sizes. We were already wearing our clothes that way, so that was an answer to the era. And why not capitalize on that? However, moving forward, as we start to grow in our little sophistication and what we want to wear, and this is I'm not going to say it's a one-upsman situation, but the streets are like that. Hip hop is like that. They go hand in hand, and I want to show up to see my folks wearing some new sneakers, and I'm not going to tell them I'm coming. I just want them to be like, "Oh man, where'd you get those?" That's how we do it. So when we can, switch out of maybe something extra baggy and so show somebody I'm actually a little more sophisticated than that. I'm wearing this now. Then we started
Right.
stepping into Jabos and more guests. And we've had these evolutions moving in a direction of I want to wear some nice labels because I'm going to wear it in my hip hop way anyway. If that makes any sense, like
Right.
we're not
Right.
wearing clothes that are hip hop as much as we're just wearing some fly stuff, and
Right.
we wear it in our hip hop way. You may wear $1,000 some outerwear and sit on the benches in front of your building. That's what we're doing.
Right.
That coat may have never made it to the club.
Well, I was thinking about things like,
Right.
the snorkel
It looks
day,
Look at that.
you
That's
know,
funny. Wow.
Right,
things
that's the
like,
piece.
you just talked about the Carhill jacket, Timberlands. I mean, they're not Timberlands, by the way, y'all. It's Timberlands, right?
Yeah.
You
Mhm.
know,
There's regional
Kangos.
pronunciations. Absolutely.
Right.
Right.
Kango hats. I mean,
Mhm.
all of this stuff is also what helped define, how we view hip hop.
And how we view brands as well, Brian. How we view brands like Kangol, you know, Timberlands, etc. And why luxury brands now welcome hip hop artists because they realize it's a $1 trillion industry. So of course you
Absolutely.
want
hmm
a rapper, male or female, wearing your gear or even designing your collection like Louis Vuitton and Pharrell.
Right.
So yeah.
I
Well,
will dare say
that's
I
the
would dare say this too, guys. I think hip hop also changed how we market all those brands too. I mean, hip hop brought a whole different style of marketing as well. But Kelly, go ahead. I'll let you close this out for this segment.
Oh, I was just going to say that, yes, some brands want to partner with rappers and, be seen, and some really didn't. There were some that were
Right.
outspoken about not wanting to do that. So, whether or not hip hop is such a powerful thing, like, if I want to wear your goods, whether it was given or not, then I might shine a light on your brand, or I might shut you down because I'm going to tell my community they're not rocking with us.
Right.
There were times when, the social conversation before social media and such was like, we're going to stop supporting Lee's, or we're going to stop supporting Timberlands, or we're going to stop supporting, depending
Right.
on what the social movement of the time was. But, as much as we support and put money in their coffers, we can shut you down.
Absolutely. While we got a couple of minutes left here, Kelly, from your point of view, where does hip hop go from here? I mean, what are some of the things that you're kind of seeing out in the space? Because I love the way that you framed it, that hip hop in terms of the pillars, and that like how you wear your hair is also a part of this, just not the clothes. So can you give us some, a couple of quick thoughts about that?
I believe the children of the people. I don't know. I just want to say that every time somebody asks me that. So it's
And it's true, right?
it's
I agree.
it's what I believe will take us into these next chapters of what we're seeing. It'll be, it's a brave sense of being, whether in a group or an individual. It's bold personalities most of the time, if not all the time, that take a step into the unknown and the unwelcome, and they do it with a straight face and grace, and we see them come out on the other side, and they're heroic to us, and then we want to do what they're doing. So if they're designers of a sort, then we're going to follow them. I mean, the rhythm of life writes the book of hip hop, folks.
Right.
Things are good. We're going to
Right.
show it in our music and our clothing and how we dress and our attitudes, and we'll show the same when it's opposite. We are such a family in these concerts in the park, but it's also, were you looking at my man right now when he was at the bar? Like, there's that element also, so
Right.
that piece of danger that was hip hop, that almost takes you back to what New York nightlife was when it was fun and dangerous.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Man, I wish we had more time. Would you come back and
Me
talk
too.
about
This
this
is
more. I mean,
absolutely, this is fun.
we're gonna be celebrating hip hop forever, man. I think after this show, I'm just gonna throw on some of my faves and just listen to that stuff today. Where can people find out more information about you and what you're doing at High Post?
Well, my Instagram is High Post Images, one word, HIPOST Images. And my website is officialhighpost.com. That's HIPOST. There's no GH. And that's the easy way to catch me. I sometimes put up my 917 number because we're going to start moving away from regular social media contact and start doing something a little more fun. So you may have to do a little bit of work to find those better goods. And we got some bang out stuff coming. I mean, I have to say, I even like it myself, and I'm very hard on myself. You know? But we're gonna beat some people up this season.
Hey man, well, we're gonna be here to support you every step of your journey and your way. Thanks for being here, brother. I really appreciate this.
Thank you.
Definitely want to have you come back because this is something that's a rich, deep conversation, and then there's other stuff that we didn't get to today that I want to talk to you about. So thanks again for being here.
Sounds great. Thank you, Brian. Thank you, D'Angelo and Sheila.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly.
All right, everybody. We're going to take a very quick break, and when we come back, we'll have more with Soulivity today.
Hi there, Sheila Applegate here with some exciting news. I've joined the incredible Soulivity team as the host of the new Consciously Awesome live show, where I will be sharing insights to help you discover your full brilliance and claim the vibrant life you deserve. So tune in every Wednesday right here on Soulivity TV to join the fun, and remember to subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss a single episode. Have an awesome week, and I will see you on Wednesday.
And we're back with more of Soulivity today, and we're going to move on to some really, really cool things, which I love to do, and that is our Soulivity shameless plugs with our co-host here. Right before we get to that, what an amazing conversation today, guys. What a really amazing conversation.
So much to cover. So much.
Yeah, and it's 50 years. I mean, it's 50 years of a whole lot of different things that are part of America's story, right? That is now interweaved in the story of America, but also the world. I was just listening to some new Middle Eastern hip hop artists that are killing it, and that are women, right? So they're talking about their plight as women through hip hop, and the music, right? So just a lot to talk about. That I'm so glad Kelly was here to join us for it. Really, really quickly, Sheila, what you got going on, girl?
Well, tomorrow is the Joy Keepers Network's monthly meditation. So that is fun to do. You can go to joykeepers.org with Halina and me, and we do a meditation and a cafe-style conversation.
Fantastic.
And yeah, and then as always, you can, if you're interested in connecting deeper with your soul, or getting messages from spiritual guidance and loved ones on the other side, reach out to me at SheilaApplegate.com and use the code SOUL23 to get $44 off your first session.
Wow, fantastic. How are things going with the Gnostic Adventures?
Well, they kicked off yesterday. Everybody's really excited. We have a group meeting tonight, and I'm really excited to connect with everyone. One person said she feels like she just started summer camp. I'm like, yeah.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
Well, those are such fun experiences. So when it's happening again, we'll let everybody know. and they can sign up and dive deeper into the divine with them.
Amazing.
D'Angelo, you've got something that's coming up in October, correct?
Yes, October 30th, The Art of Pivoting. Just a course about the shift that we have and that comes into our lives, whether it's personal or professional. So we're going to talk about how to pivot. And I'm looking forward to it on October 30th.
Fantastic, fantastic. Just want to remind everybody that please go visit soulivity.com, our new soulivity.com, which is available, and go visit our Soulivity Today page, where you can learn more information about our show. You can even watch or listen to our past shows and download our podcast on your podcast provider, maybe Spotify, SoundCloud, whoever it is. We are here to support you with inspiration on Soulivity Today. Guys, man, it always goes by so quickly. I just like, man, I wish we had more time, you know? Maybe in the future we'll expand the show or something like that. But thanks to both of you. It's
Thank you.
always
Thank you.
awesome when you guys are here with me.
Yeah.
Again, a great conversation about hip hop. Everybody, listen, this is how we do it every weekday, Monday through Friday, here on Soulivity TV at 8 a.m. Eastern. This is our live broadcast. And then you can also listen to us at 8 a.m. Pacific time on KMET 1490 AM radio out in Southern California. Don't forget to download their app as well, because you can see it and listen to us wherever you are in the world. Listen, I just want to say again, thank you for joining us for this edition of Soulivity Today. Got some more fantastic shows coming up in the future, so stay tuned to social media and on specifically YouTube. Go to YouTube and check us out and subscribe there. Listen, on behalf of all of us, thanks again. Wishing you a life full of passion and purpose so you can create a life full of high quality living today. See you next time, everybody. Bye.
This work is subject to copyright owned by Affinity Global LLC. Any reproduction or republication of all or part of this is expressly prohibited unless Affinity Global LLC has explicitly